Empower to Integrate, a collaborative initiative by Aditus Foundation and the African Media Association Malta. This program is dedicated to advancing integration and social inclusion for third country nationals in Malta. It is funded by the Asylum, Migration and Integration Fund, co-funded by the European Union and carried out in collaboration with the Parliamentary Secretariat for European Funds.
Welcome to the Empower to Integrate project. This is a platform for third country nationals to boost their visibility, amplify their voices, and share their perspective. It also aims to strengthen community empowerment and build social ties in Malta. Hello and welcome. I'm Nesli Mayu, and I'm the project lead strategist and the radio show host. Today we will be talking about These Women Can't Even Say No. We're then going to delve a bit deeper into shifting perspectives on gender-based violence and inequalities that migrant women face, and the impact it has on them, as well as empowering them so that they can build their self-confidence and start living a fulfilled life here in Malta. Joining me in the studio is Precious Orogun. Hello, Precious, and welcome.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Precious is a young woman of African heritage who has been established in Malta since 2017. She's passionate about writing and has published poems and stories in Connecting the Dots, a campaign against gender-based violence in migration, and Negro Gira magazines. She's an interpreter and a social support worker who graduated from INCOST. She has advocated for change over the years in sensitive issues such as gender-based violence. Leveraging her voice has helped to exemplify what is possible for women in similar situations, as well as becoming very resilient. As the journey continues, she believes she's becoming the woman that she's meant to be, and that her best is yet to come. Precious hails from Nigeria and calls Malta home. I'd also like to give a warm welcome to Diana Tudorancea. Welcome, Diana.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Diana is a psychologist and humanitarian leader, working at the intersection of mental health, migration, and human rights. With over a decade of experience, she supports vulnerable communities and frontline professionals in a high-pressure asylum context. She is also a lecturer and international speaker with a strong commitment to inclusive and rights-based approaches to social justice. She works within an international organization supporting asylum systems, focusing on staff well-being and psychosocial support across field operations. She is also the executive director of TAMA, a Malta-based NGO assisting asylum seekers and migrants. Precious, you've become a strong advocate around migration and gender-based violence. As much as you feel comfortable sharing it with us today, how has this journey shaped your life and sense of purpose?
Yeah, this journey has actually helped me to know that I should celebrate every process that I'm making and every step that I'm making towards my goal. Because growing up, I'm used to only celebrating my achievement. But then when I don't achieve that goal, I get crushed. So over the years, I've learned that the real success is the effort that I make towards my goal every day. And this has always make me to know that the older you get, sometimes your ambition changes, your responsibility changes, your goals changes, and this doesn't make you weak. It only means that you are growing and you learn more things. Your life circumstances change as you grow older. Now I'm a mother of two. 9 years ago when I came here, it was just me and my pregnancy. So with regard to how your life circumstances changes, your goals and ambition changes because you want to fix everything in one go. So rather than focusing on the past or the things you've left behind, I've learned to embrace everything at one goal, to walk and appreciate every step that I'm making, just be happy for each step that I make towards my goal until then, because I feel that's the only thing that will make me appreciate it when I actually achieve that goal.
Thank you for sharing that with us. And Diana, from your experience, how have your work and personal insights contributed to building more inclusive rights-based support systems for women who have experienced sexual or gender-based violence?
So first, Nazli, thank you so much for having me today. Apart from everything that you very well mentioned, I do feel like I want to say that my entire career has been shaped by the insights that I've gained from my work, and it's always been an evolving process. I came to Malta to study transcultural counseling, and this is essentially the first thing that shaped my approach. After that, I've spearheaded a number of services on gender-based violence. I was a project manager in another organization, opening the first gender-based violence service in Malta for asylum-seeking women. And so Tama came after, of course, and then I was starting a number of other projects. And so all of this has definitely shaped how I look at this. And I want to say that putting the person that we are concerned with at the center of the focus is very important for having any kind of success in shaping such a service. At the moment, I'm studying diplomacy as well, with a focus on indigenous diplomacy, and it's just very much centered on the person that we are trying to support. And so this is how Tama came to be. It was a response to a need, to a gap in the field in Malta. We needed to acknowledge that gap, but we also needed to put the people we were trying to support at the center of them. So we let them shape everything that we do. And so we get advice from everyone that we can, essentially.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that there. Precious, how has using your voice and self-expression ideas through stories and poetry helped support other women who may be going through similar challenges?
For me, at the initial stage, I really didn't know how far it would go until one beautiful afternoon we had a gathering, and I met a lady. I think she's from Eritrea, and she told me, "Oh, you are Precious." I said, "Yes." She said she heard my story. I don't know from where. Like, it's actually helped her to go back to school because she did drop out at one point, and she was still struggling. So she told me a week before that meeting, she saw me in school with my child. So for her, she didn't have the opportunity to meet me in person. So when she met me in person, she's telling me now she's almost done with the unit, because it was around June when I met her during the Refugee Week Festival. So she was like, yeah, she did it because she felt that if I was able to do it with my child without any support, how much more she that always have support. So I felt it has helped many women to achieve their goal, and it's also helped them to know that they are not dreaming too big. Because when we are getting ambitious as women, especially as mothers, sometimes we feel like we're doing too much. We have responsibility of the children, and sometimes we feel, oh, this goal, this dream is beyond our reach. But actually, hearing my story or seeing what I've done with limited support, it's actually encouraged people that have the support to say, oh, if I have the support, why can't I? Because there was another beautiful experience that I had recently from a lady we met at one of the Spark fairs, and she told me, oh, she's doing the modeling, and she's the only black doing it in the local modeling here. But then she did have a picture of someone that a black lady that contested for Mrs. Malta 2024. But she felt that these women, they are rich. And then when I saw the picture, and then I showed her the picture on my phone, and she was like, oh, it's you. So I was like, yes, it's me. And so I literally saw how her face light up and how her perspective changed. So when I met her 2 weeks ago, she told me, oh, she's continuing because sometimes we felt these things is just too much for us to reach. So me, when I start something that has to do with, that is different from what from the migrant community usually do, my main purpose of starting those things is not actually to get to the top. It's just to let people know that these things is reachable. You can do it. It's possible to do it. Because most time when you are encouraging people to do things, they kind of, if it's that easy, why didn't you do it? So me doing it and actually sharing the story, telling others how I possibly do it, and I also went as far as to tell them the stress that comes from it, being a mother, so they know that, oh, it's not very easy, it's not a bed of roses, but it is possible.
Yeah, thank you very much for sharing that there and how you continue to empower other women as well.
Thank you.
Diana, in Malta, there's been discussion about deep-rooted patriarchal attitudes that contributes to domestic violence and even femicide. From your perspective, what practical changes can society start making to challenge these mindsets and promote healthier relationships?
That's a very interesting question. I think there's two things that we can look at. So for one, the most undiscussed aspect of this change that we need to undertake is the idea that we have behind the balance of power. So people look at the fact that if we share power, if we balance out the dynamics between men and women within society or between different groups, that means that automatically, if one group has power, the other one does not completely. And it's just they look at it as a zero-sum game. And then power is not a zero-sum game. It's essentially a way to achieve or a way to allow people the space to move forward, to reach, to have goals. And so we just need to stop looking at it as a zero-sum game. And then the second thing is we need to balance between expectations and accountability. Now, I mean accountability from a psychological perspective, and the accountability I refer to is the ability to admit wrong, say that things could have gone differently, and dare to ask the person whom we wronged how we would like them to see things go down in a different way for the future. And that's actually also learning a lot about how to work with guilt and shame, because guilt is the emotion that lets us change our behavior, it lets us change our actions, whereas shame is quite literally the killer in this, because it's shame that drives people to aggression, it's shame that drives people to hopelessness. So we really need to be able to work and move away from a shame-based accountability system to something healthier, basically.
Yeah, thank you. That is very insightful. Thank you for sharing that. That's Precious. For women who are rebuilding their lives, what kinds of support, whether through education, mentoring, or community networks, can help them to regain this confidence so that they can feel empowered again?
From my personal experience, I think community network will help a lot, because when women come together, women who have already built their life, women who are trying to build their life, women who are in the process as well, when all these women come together and share their stories, their success story, their struggles, it helps to build up another person who is just there not knowing what to do. It helps to tell, look, you are not alone. Someone else has been there and they've succeeded. And I think education helps. However, there are still many women, unfortunately, who don't think that education is really necessary. So during community networking, they get to know what is necessary for them, and they get to see that education doesn't always have to be formal education. There can be workshops, there can be other things, but still they have to hear it from someone they felt is it understands them, someone they felt it has been in their shoes, someone they can see like themselves, So community network is one of the most effective way I felt will be able to help people to see that they have the strength within them. They just need someone to help them bring it out.
Thank you for sharing that. Diana, for educators and those working with young people, what are some of the signs, emotional, physical, and behavioral, that may indicate that a young girl has been affected by female genital mutilation? And how can they respond in a sensitive and supportive way?
I'm going to first start by saying that TAMA is currently working within the education system to actually provide training to educators. And from the insights that we've gathered there, I want to say that the first and most important thing is to present yourself as a safe space, as a safe person. That means, firstly, being aware of what the internal state is for that person. So there should be no judgment, there should be no outrage, there should be just kindness and compassion. Because if we have children who are potentially exposed with more than one type of violence, they will immediately clock you becoming very resistant. And this is applicable to every single person that's trying to support someone, especially a child. So children react immediately to anger, react immediately to outrage. They will not be able to tell why you're becoming in a certain way, but they will pull back. So that's the first thing. Secondly, don't shame the parents, especially not to the child. There's a big amount of dissonance that happens within a child, because on one hand, certain practices are told that they're good and safe and celebrated. Even FGM is celebrated in some contexts as a coming of age ritual. So we shouldn't automatically say, oh, but that's bad, that's a horrible thing, and that your parents just did to you, because the child might just have conflicting feelings about it, and we're not going to help them do anything if we're going to be harsh on them. And then it would be about teaching kids how to trust themselves, because the dissonance is there. The child may feel that there's something wrong and something going on, but the most important thing that we can support them with is to teach them how to trust themselves, so that they can almost allow us to work with them more positively and have a constructive relationship. Especially if there's no clear evidence that the FGM has happened, we firstly need to create a safe space for the child.
Thank you. Precious, we often hear that migrant women fear speaking up due to their immigration status, which can sometimes be used to silence or control them. From your perspective, what needs to change at a policy and community level to ensure that these women feel safe, protected, and valued?
I think the policy as a whole has a crack in them. I dare not say has an issue with them, because even for the women who have successfully make a report about their issues to the police, what have been done? Nothing. So the situation whereby I did make a report, I went to court, take days off work to go to court, and the court ruled on my favor, yet nothing happened. So for me personally, just give me a closed door of wanting to go and make another report, and sometimes we just end up even closing the case we have ongoing, because we know that it's a waste of time for us. So first of all, I think the policy needs to start holding guilty people accountable. When someone has protection order, for example, and the person break that law of protection order, that's a law that you've broken. The person needs to be held accountable one way or the other. The situation whereby I still fear that someone whom I already have protection order from the court, I'm still afraid of my life from that person, that means there is everything wrong with the policy. And again, I think the system needs to stop focusing more on whether the person making a report has protection or not. If I was raped, for example, and I went to the police, that takes a lot of effort and courage to do that. So the police should focus on the report I'm making, not whether I have protection, whether I have subsidiary protection, I have refugee status. No, that's not why I'm there. So the situation whereby the policy, the law makes it very difficult for women without protection to make a report, and even those who manage to make the report, either they are afraid of being deported because they don't have document, or we that have protection, for example, are just give up because we know nothing is going to happen, to be a waste of time going to court and coming back, and yet nothing will happen. So I think that policy of not holding guilty people accountable need to change totally, because if I know that this person will be punished, and if the person making creating problems, when they know that they're going to be held accountable, they won't want to do it next time. If for example, I know I'm going to spend like 6 months in jail, or I'm going to pay a hefty fine, for example, I won't want to make the same mistake. So when people know that they are going to get away with what they are doing, that's when they continue to do it.
Thank you for sharing that and your experiences as well. Diana, Many women, especially those from migrant backgrounds, find themselves balancing traditional values with modern life in a new country. What support or approaches can help them navigate this in a way that protects their well-being and their independence?
So I think we can start. I'm going to speak as a psychologist, of course. So I am a huge fan of cultures. Of course, I've been working around many for my entire career. And I have seen a few things throughout my life. And one thing is that tradition in itself, psychologically speaking, provides a structure. So it gives you go here, you go there, it gives a prescription as to how life needs to be lived, who needs to live where, who does what around the house. So it's very structured. It gives an answer to life's unknowns. The thing that we need to do firstly, and women need to come back to themselves with this question, is that they're not there to exist as monoliths of that's it, this is how it went on for 2,000 years, this is how it's supposed to go for another 2,000. Traditions are there to be interrogated. Also, we need to understand that traditions are just because something is structured doesn't mean that it's necessarily safe. So it's not an equal thing. Safety could be found outside of these structures. But psychologically, sometimes it's a little bit harder for us to take the step because it does open us up to a lot of unknowns. And as humans, we don't really like uncertainty in general. So I think we're going to err on the side of the tradition because we confound it as just safety. But I think once we come out from that and we manage to interrogate it a little bit, we can find each other. And Precious mentioned earlier, we're finding other women who share ambition, finding other women who we can respect, who can understand us, who are not necessarily within the bounds of one culture, one tradition, or one whatever, but rather who transcend that. And then we can find ourselves connecting to each other in that way. As women, we have a lot of strength to connect when we're under stress, and this is our superpower. And so I think we can do that as much as possible, and that's our way to move forward and manage all of the stress. So finding women to connect with would be another step afterwards.
Thank you for sharing that. And finally, Precious, for any woman who is listening today who may feel isolated or afraid, what message would you want to leave with her?
For me, I think the very first thing is to know that you are not alone, because no matter what it is that we are passing through today, someone else have passed through it, and someone is also coming behind us who is going to pass through the same struggle. So whatever it is that our goal is, we should always try to continue to work hard to achieve that goal. And even if we didn't end up achieving the goals, as long as we are alive, we are strong, there are many more goals. We are just creative. We are always created creatives who can always create life scenarios as often as it's needed. So we can always create our life however we want it to be. And for me personally, what has worked for me is when I'm trying to achieve something, I always have two goals in mind. So there is no way possible that I'm not going to achieve at least one of them. So when I'm aiming at two things, I'm working towards this just one goal, but having the aim this or this. If it didn't work out like this, whatever the result is, I take it. I always learn to accept the whatever result that comes, because one thing that helps us to get very depressed is when we feel that we are not accepting the result of what we want to achieve. So we kind of feel, did I do something wrong? What was I supposed to do wrong? So doing our best, knowing that, I did everything I know I was supposed to do and it still go wrong. So that's not my fault. So from the moment we start to know that it's not my fault, from there we can be able to accept the result that comes from it and either give it a break, start again, or do something else totally.
Thank you very much for sharing that. And just finally for you, Diana, where can listeners in Malta seek more information, help, or support to enable them to feel psychologically safe, to help them rebuild their own lives?
Understanding the issue that's at core, we do struggle a little bit with when it comes to connection in general and nowadays, and I think there's a bit of an issue with the accountability. So when the practical systemic accountability that Precious was mentioning before. But that being said, if there is a situation of immediate danger, there are government entities such as Agenția Support and Victim Support Agency who are ready to offer some elements of safety and some support. We worked in the past with domestic violence shelters, but kind of taking a step back from a step below the absolute dire situation, I would suggest going through hobbies, women's groups, activities, what organizations are doing. There's a lot of cookout sessions. Malta in general is just a very, very social place, so it's always nice to, and there's always the possibility to build up a little bit of a community. And so I think we can take advantage of that to construct to bridge together people who might be sharing ideals and values.
Thank you very much. And thank you to Diana and Precious for joining us today and sharing your experiences and expertise with us. And thank you for tuning in, and goodbye for now.
Empower to Integrate, a collaborative initiative by Aditus Foundation and the African Media Association Malta. This program is dedicated to advancing integration and social inclusion for third country nationals in Malta. It is funded by the Asylum, Migration and Integration Fund, co-funded by the European Union and carried out in collaboration with the Parliamentary Secretariat for European Funds.